Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss about behaviorism, cognitivism, psycholinguistic theory. So these are all language theories which are helpful in teaching. So main thing is we are not going to discuss the process of behaviorism or cognitivism and psycholinguistic theory, but how it is helpful to the children, how it is helpful to the children in language teaching. So that process we are going to learn in this video. First topic is behaviorism. So we know that the founder of behaviorism is John B. Watson. The founder of behaviorism is John B. Watson. He was an American psychologist. And apart from this, Ivan Pavlov and Edward Thorndike and B.F. Skinner. So these are all key figures who worked on behaviorism. So we know about the B.F. Skinner and his examples also, we know theories. And behaviorists believe that all learning is change in behavior. Yes, this behaviorist what they believe all learning can happen change in behavior and that such change can be controlled. So we can control the changes also. So with the help of we have seen the examples of what is that which is experimented on rat or cat or dog. So how he controlled that, how he brought the changes in there in that animals. So based on that, this behaviorism was developed. Change in behavior can be induced using the right type of stimulus, using the right type of stimulus to elicit the required response and rewarding the learner for good responses. Yes. How can we bring the changes? By providing the rewardings. So we should reward whenever we get the good responses. So that is nothing but right type of stimulus. So through that we can get the changes. And this repeated responses in us gets itself established as a habit. Yes, if we continue in the same process every day, so it becomes as a habit. And the conditioned responses lead to habit formation. So when it is continuing with the conditioned responses, it becomes as a habit formation. The process of establishing behavior or changing one type of behavior to another was considered learning. So this process is nothing but learning. And a habit is more or less an unconscious act. So here, a habit is more or less an unconscious act. Yes. When we form it, means when it is became as a habit, so we do unconsciously that I am that all the activities. And over a period of time, it becomes a part of our behavior, and we will be recognized by such behaviors. So we will be recognized by such behaviors. And behaviorists believe that language can also be learned by a process of repetition. Even how we brought the changes in our behavior, the same way a language also can be learned. Behaviorists believe that language also can be learned by what? By the process of repetition. By the process of repetition. And they believe that a child learns to speak by repeating what they hear from the parents. Yes, it is fact that a child when he was born, so he may not speak any words, but slowly when he is growing up, when the parents are repeating the words, that all words he will start pronouncing. So continuously when we repeat in front of him, so automatically the child get the language. And that each time a child speaks something, the parents either praise or punish the child. Yes. Whenever a child is learning the language, if he speaks properly, so we may praise, means we may reward. If he is not speaking properly, we may punish the child. And behaviorists also believe that if language to be learned can be sliced into small parts, and each part can be taught discreetly. So here what is saying? So behaviorists also believed language should be learned what? Sliced means make into small parts, and each part can be taught discreetly, individually. So each part should be taught individually, and the language learning happens best. Yes, based on the topic, means all total language should be divided into some parts, and that part should be taught to the students. Then it becomes easy to learn to the language. This is once again challenged. We do not isolate parts of the language to learn it. So again, behaviorist, what happened here? It was challenged by them. These beliefs gave rise to an approach. So when they challenged, what happened? They gave rise to one another approach. So that approach teaching is known as structural approach, which also banked on the theories put forth by structural linguists. So here, behaviorist, when they, what is that? We can bring the changes in the behavior with the process of repetition, they thought. But here, structural linguist, what they did, they brought one more theory against of this. That theory name is structural approach. And the behaviorists, in order to prove their beliefs, conducted experiments with the rats, dogs, and pigeons. So to prove themselves, what they did, the behaviorists, they experimented with rats and dogs and pigeons to prove their beliefs or hypotheses. They conducted that any learning process can be sliced into small parts. And if each part is learned separately and in a sequenced manner, that will lead to a total learning as a synthetic process. Yes. So, whatever you are learning in a small parts, finally what happens? We will combine all. So, that is called as a synthetic process. And coming to the cognitivism, Jean Piaget is known as his theory of cognitive development. So here, who is a famous linguist here? Jean Piaget. Jean Piaget is known for his theory of cognitive development, which describes how children progress through stages of mental development. So which is describing about what children progress, about the children progress through the stages of mental development. He believed learning is an active process. So he believed that learning is an active process where learners construct knowledge based on their experience. So they construct the knowledge based on their experiences. And apart from this, and some other linguists, who's there, Liv Vygotsky and Noam Chomsky, these are also key figures who worked on the cognitivism. And this school rose as a reaction to the theories put forth by the behaviorism. And cognitivism is against of the behaviorism. Behaviorism. So it was rose against a reaction to the theories which was put forward by the behaviorism. And their main contention was that behaviorism completely ignores the fact that seat of learning is brain. So yeah, this is the main important point here. So what cognitivists demanded here? So the people, behaviorist people, are completely ignoring that seat of learning means the place of learning is brain. So the main important place is what? Brain. If the brain is not there, so we cannot learn anything. So that is the reason cognitivists demanded that seat of learning is brain, and that all human beings are endowed, means provided with the quality of brain and power of thinking. Every human being has a power of, means provided by the God with the quality of brain and power of thinking. Thinking is a process which helps us to observe things around. Yes, we have a thinking process. So with this, what we do, we observe the things which are around us, why it is and how it is, and this kind of question we raise ourselves or else we ask someone else with the help of thinking. That is the reason children ask many questions and see a pattern in them and generalize these patterns. We try to generalize. The ability to generalize, in fact, a scientific process. So generalizing is a factor. So this is a one scientific process and can be compared to what is popularly called the discovery process. Generalizing in the sense, you take the example of a tree. So when you see the tree, so we'll find a example. If any child is seeing in a childhood one tree, so then what he sees, he find one stem here, and then he find the branches, and branches will have the leaves. So many branches are there. So through that he will understand that this is a tree. And if we see another type of tree also, so by generalizing these things, he will find out that it is a tree. Maybe the tree is a different with the name of different tree, but even though by the shape he understand that this is a tree. So he generalized. This is called as a discovery process. This is called as a discovery process in the science parlor. And here is a step-by-step analysis of discovery process. How we discover. So we are going to discuss about the discovery process. So firstly, you observe things around. Yes, when we see the things we observe and we'll make notes in our mind. Because in the sense we collect the data and find common features among them. What are the common features? Just now I said it's a stem and we have a one branch. A branch has a leaves, right? So totally it got one shape and it has fruits. So these kind of things we will find out. Means these are all common features. And we come to one arrive at a generalization. So you observe more things of a similar nature to verify your hypothesis. Yes. When you move little bit front, again you will find one more tree. You will compare it. You will find a similar nature. If you find right, retain the hypothesis. So if you find same things, so you will understand that you will obtain that it is a your hypothesis is correct. It is also tree. If you find yourself wrong, you revise your hypothesis. If you feel if you found that it is not a tree, then you will generalize again. So what is difference between that tree and this tree? So you will revise your hypothesis and you observe more objects and collect more data. So once again you test your hypothesis and form a principle or a generalization. Finally you come to one generalization which can be established as a truth. So ultimately you understand what thing it is. So example, what happens here? See, not the tree. We'll take the another example. When you see any right animal, so what you understand? It has a four legs. So when you see the four legs, you feel that you taught the children that child that it is a dog. It is a dog. So then what happens? The child, whatever sees, means whatever the animal sees, if he finds the four legs, then he'll understand that four legs are there, one, 2 ears are there, one tail is there. So it is a dog. He will understand. But you says that it is not a dog, it is a buffalo. So then what happens? He will revise. What is the difference here? Then it is in a totally black in color. It is in a black in color. So then you will observe the more objects which is differences. So you will come to another hypothesis. Okay. So which has this kind of shape that is dog and which is looking in a black in color and little bit fat. That is a buffalo or cow. So this kind of generalization they come to. And when you see the newly born child, he will be exposed to a lot of language from its mother and others. So child may not respond. When you see the child, what happens here? Child listen from their parents a lot of words, but he may not respond because child will be not able to speak till to 2 years. So then, but the child still can hear and listen to each one of them talking, whatever they are speaking, he can hear and he can listen also. It is believed by cognitivists that child's brain is like a tape recorder. Yes, child brain is like a tape recorder and it can store all it has heard in its brain, but it cannot play back. It can store it, but it cannot play back. So this language that is stored forms the data in his mind or in his brain. The initial sound produced are speech sounds which approximate the speech sounds of the mother tongue, and the initial sounds are invariably b, m, and p. So mostly what happens, papa or mama, right, baba. So this kind of sounds they make, which is starting with the b, m, p. So it will be means mostly it will be pronounced by the parents also with the help of these letters only. It can be noted here that words for mother and father in most languages begin with one of these sounds. Yes, and the speech sounds gradually move to combine. Then what happens? Firstly, they start with the one letter, and gradually what happens? They combine the letters. Means they speak the words, and later on sentences. When the child produces this word, the child has formulated a hypothesis and is trying out with the data and is able to find similarities and differences between its own production. The same words as produced by others around him or her. So the child has formulated his hypothesis. When he is able to speak, whatever data is stored based on that, he formulated one hypothesis and he finds similarities and differences between its own production, whatever is producing the words. Based on that, he will start producing the words and like others who are around him. This is how a child learns a language according to the cognitivist. This is a slow process. Yes, it is a slow process and is achieved in over a long period of time. It takes a long time. Nearly 5 years it takes, right? 2 years, 2 years onwards they start speaking. It goes to 5 years or sometimes 6 years also. The entire process is described in detail by Ruth Weir. So this process is described by whom? Ruth Weir in her book, The Language of the Crib. So she wrote one book. That book name is The Language of the Crib. And how she wrote, it was an account of how her child learned to speak. Means she experimented on her child only. This Ruth Weir has experimented on her child and she wrote one book, The Language of the Crib. This theory seems to be closer to the process of language learning. Cognitivist is what? Closer to the process of language learning. And cognitivism. Cognitivists believe that the fact that exposure is a key means to language learning. And they were also able to state that output is not always the same as input. Yes, output you can't expect as same as in input. Sometimes it may not reach to them whatever you speak. So the language input the child receives is enormous compared to the meager output. Yes, the child receives enormous input, but he produces the meager output. He produces very less output. Sometimes you observe it, your mother or you, when you are speaking with a child, you speak number of sentences, but child respond with only one word or one sentence. Means we give child receives inputs is enormous, output is meager, means very less. And often there is an element of surprise for the parents as the child comes out with a word or an expression which is not expected. Yes, sometimes children speak more than you expect. So we get the shock. The theories put forth by cognitivists along with psycholinguists gave rise to the communicative language teaching. Yes, this theory is put forth by the cognitivist along with the psycholinguist. So what they gave rise here? They gave rise to the communicative language teaching. And come to the next topic is psycholinguistic theory. Coming to the father of psycholinguistic theory. Who is the father of psycholinguistic theory here? Noam Chomsky is the father of psycholinguistic theory. It's very, very important point. And this was theory put forth as a complementary theory to what was proposed by the cognitive psychologist. It was a complementary. It was a complementary theory to what was proposed by the cognitive psychologist. So against of cognitivism. And the cognitivist had recognized the role of brain in developing language. Yes, cognitivism is developed what? Role of means based on the brain because seat of learning is brain. If the brain is not available, we cannot learn anything. But here in a psycholinguistic theory, what happens? And they consider language primarily as a process of discovery. Who's that here? Cognitivism. They consider language learning primarily as a process of discovery. But the psycholinguists looked at the structure of the brain. They looked at the total structure of the brain and found specific parts that were responsible. And again, they divided the brain into parts. The brain can be really divided into two parts. How many parts? Two parts or two hemispheres. One is left, one is right. And they also realized the fact that left hemisphere played a major role. Which hemisphere here? Left hemisphere is playing a major role in language learning comparison with the right. So right has a very less importance, but the left is playing the major role. On closer observation, it was further revealed that it is not the entire left hemisphere. Again, they found not the total entire left hemisphere, but only the front part of it. In the left hemisphere, only front part, which is called as a frontal lobe, which is called as a frontal lobe, which was really responsible for enabling human beings to learn language. Only frontal lobe is the important part for the responsible for learning the language. Every child born into this world is endowed with the capacity to learn a language. Yes, every child is provided the quality of or feature of the capacity to learn a language. And this is innate or inborn trait. The psycholinguist, what they believed, Noam Chomsky also believed that every child has an innate. innate quality, means naturally. Innate is nothing but naturally they have a quality or inborn trait. By birth only we get the trait. Trait means a feature. Trait means feature or quality. Inborn trait means by birth only we get the feature. And this was put forth as a capacity and labeled language acquisition device. So it was called as a language acquisition device, means the quality which you got by birth, right? The feature which you got by birth, that capacity is called as a language acquisition device, or in short LAD also we can call. This capacity with which each one is born also starts to weaken after a certain period of time. Yes, this is important point. So in the beginning, so we will have the capacity to learn easily, means we'll have the strength and capacity. But slowly when you are growing up, so it becomes very slow, means it becomes weakened after a certain period of time. Here are some of the features of LAD and its role. So LAD, language acquisition device, is an inborn trait. So this is inborn trait, means by birth only we get this feature. And every child is endowed. Endowed means provided with this quality. LAD, language acquisition device, helps acquire language that the child is exposed to. It is not a language specific. So here, this language, this quality helps in what? Acquiring, means getting the language or obtaining the language or learning the language, and which is exposed to, means whatever the language you teach, the child will learn. And it is not a language specific, means it is not specific to only one language. Example, one child is born. So in the beginning, if you what is taught only Telugu language, so it means you don't. It doesn't mean that child will understand only Telugu language, or with the help of language acquisition device, he will be able to only learn only Telugu language. It is not specific to this. It is not specific to only Telugu language. You see, Tamilian people learn Tamil language, Muslim people speak Urdu language, or Kannada people Kannada language. So, different region people, they learn different language with the help of LAD, language acquisition device. It means what? LAD is not a language specific. It is not specific to only one language. Any language you can learn. And language acquisition device is active. It will be active till the child attains puberty, means until he comes to young age, and subsequently tends to become weak or atrophy. So slowly what happens? He will lose the quality to learn. And language learning is possible in post-puberty stage. Even post-puberty also, he will learn. The child will learn, but the process will be very slow. The process will be slow. In a child age, in childhood only, they will learn very fast. A child, while learning language in the home atmosphere, does so in a relaxed and comfortable atmosphere. Yes, child, what happens when he is learning the language at home? He will learn in a relaxed manner or in a comfortable atmosphere. Because some of these features, the child receives all inputs with a love and no demands. Yes, mother or father or brother, sister, they all teach the children with a love only. There is no demands or made on the correctness of the output, means they will not focus on the mistakes also. And incorrect responses are encouraged. If the child is speaking wrong also, people will laugh at them, laugh at the boy, and they will enjoy it, but they will not try to punish them. So with the love and affection only, they will teach the child. And this leads to state called homeostasis. This process is called as a homeostasis, means incorrect responses are encouraged, means encouraging the incorrect responses also. This leads to one state which is called as homeostasis, is called as a where the child takes pleasure in making errors and continues to do so. Homeostasis means in this process child takes a pleasure in making errors and continues. Language development is closely associated with the other physical development such as crawl, sit, stand, walk, hold things, etc. Means the child while crawling, sitting, standing, walking, holding things, or else sleeping on the bed, or playing with his items, toys. So with these, with the help of these, all the process, child will learn the language. The entire process of language learning takes nearly 60 months. How many months? 60 months is equal to 6 years. So, entire process of language learning, it takes 5 years, by which time a child is identified as a linguistic adult. So, when he come to know the language, total language, then child will be called as a linguistic adult. In fact, a description of the child learning language is fascinating. Yes, child learning language is fascinating. And it is more fascinating to observe a child grow and make note of these points. Yes, if you observe the child when he is learning the language, when he is growing, and it will be also fascinating. This theory, which seems most plausible, has given rise to a new approach to language teaching called the communicative language teaching. And this also gave rise to new approach. What is that approach name? Communicative language teaching. And psycholinguistic theory also gave rise to communicative language teaching. This is about today's topic, behaviorism and cognitivism and psycholinguistic theory. Thank you for watching this video. Whoever not subscribed this channel, I request you to subscribe the channel. Thank you once again.